Hey, so this is another one of my video diary things. Today I wanted to discuss apathy and kind of emotional deadening. I've been struggling with this a lot. I don't really know when this started being a big problem for me, but I kind of only became aware of it a couple of years ago, gained insight or the knowledge to know that that really wasn't normal. And it's been getting a lot worse as time passes. But basically, I have a lot of problems with a lack of emotion, a lack of an ability to feel emotion. Just a lot of the time, I just don't really feel anything other than maybe uncomfortable, or maybe I'll be irritated sometimes. But especially with positive emotions, I just can't feel them. It makes me really concerned actually, because I feel like maybe I'm just a cold person. Maybe there is something wrong with me in the sense of maybe I'm bad somehow, because I just can't feel things the way I think other people are able to. So for instance, say something really good happens, I don't know, I get to see someone I love very much, my little brother. On a surface level, I feel happy about it, and all the positive emotions that kind of come with good things happening. But really, I just can't feel anything more than surface level happiness or pleasure or anything like that. It's just if I really think about it, or if I really analyze it, or if I really dig deep, not even that deep, just a little bit deeper than what's beneath the surface, I don't really feel much of anything at all in response to it. I've had people give me wonderful things, or maybe they're really kind to me, or maybe they say something very kind to me, or maybe I'm paid a really wonderful compliment, and it's I know it should make me happy, and I know that that's something that would make me happy if I was able to feel it, and that's the closest thing to an actual emotional response I can get when it happens, when things like that occur. And that's how it is with all positive emotions. So things like I said before, happiness or pleasure or excitement or fulfillment or love. Love is a really big one for me, and one of the reasons why I feel maybe there's something wrong with me as a person, because even though I love someone, I feel I don't have the ability to love anyone or anything deeply. It just all feels so flat. Love just feels flat. My heart doesn't race when I'm around people that make me happy, or I don't actually know if I can do things like fall in love or things like that. I can't feel it. Even if I want to, even if I really want to get to a place where I can just completely fall in love with somebody, or really love somebody, or really be dedicated to somebody, not even just romantically, even in platonic senses, there's just it's almost I can only feel it to a certain extent, and that extent isn't very much, and anything beyond that I just don't really feel anything at all. It's not that I feel disdain or disinterest, I just don't feel anything at all. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but even the people that I know I love, I feel I don't love them the way that someone that was normal, I guess, would be able to, because I just don't don't feel it, and I have to kind of put on this pretense that I do, and I'm not being disingenuous about it. You know, when I say, oh, I love you to death, or things like that, I mean that. But that's like, I love you as much as me as a person can love somebody. But when you compare it to other people, I don't think that that's very much. But that's just like the best I can do. And it's like that with all things that are positive, specifically positive emotions. I just can't feel them. I can't feel it deeply. It's just completely flat. Just have this flat emotional response to positive things. And I have to act like I feel things more deeply than I do a lot of the time. And it's really tiring. It's really exhausting because I want to be able to feel things like people can't normally. I really want that, but I just can't. And, it's kind of a hard thing for people to understand. They might think that, maybe it's something wrong with them. Maybe the gift wasn't good enough or whatever if you don't show a good enough positive response. And even if something's really touching or something's really important, I just can't feel much regarding it. I just feel tepid. And most of the time I don't really feel anything at all. Like I said, that's a lot of the time. But when I do feel things, mostly I feel intensely negative emotions. And I can feel those very, very, very well. For some reason, this emotional flatness is only most of the time applies to positive emotions. So, feelings of depression or anxiety or fear or paranoia or dread, I can feel those so intensely that it feels like it'll rip my body apart. My body can't hold it all, and I'll get torn open just from all of those horrifying feelings just exploding out of me. And I can feel that really well, but it's only for it's like I can only do it for short periods of it at a time. So I guess I'll enter this episode where I'll be intensely paranoid, and then it's like a switch flips and I just don't really feel anything at all. I just feel completely emotionally flat and deadened. And then again, it'll turn back on again and I can feel those things again. And sometimes it varies. Sometimes if the emotion is too extreme, the bad emotion, maybe the paranoia is so extreme that I literally think I'm going to have to rip my hair out or something. I cannot handle it. I can't process it. My mind will break if I have to deal with it too much. Then the apathy will just switch back on for a while. And I feel like maybe to some extent that's a defense mechanism, but it's not just a defense mechanism because it happens at times where I don't need it. So, sometimes I'll go days worth just constantly being stuck in this emptiness. Or even emptiness is a feeling though, so this isn't really quite that. It's a deadness, a numbness. I've lost feeling to maybe a part of my body, but that part of my body is my emotions. It really bothers me because it makes me feel like a ghost or something. I am just formless and purposeless because nothing matters. I cannot summon the feeling at all. It's this, I said, this deadness. And it makes me feel really guilty sometimes when I should have for mostly positive reactions to things or even negative reactions to things, but I just can't feel it properly. At the beginning of the year, I lost someone that I really loved. It was one of the few people that I considered family. Because I have family, but I don't really consider any of them family, except for like 3 people. But this person died, and the initial, like in the first day that this happened, I felt all of the emotions, the grief and the despair and just the sadness. But it only lasted for maybe 6 hours. And then ever since then, I cannot properly feel any of those emotions. I just feel numb about it. I just feel completely numb. When I think about it, it's like part of me wants to react. So I get like a little twinge, maybe like a twinge of sadness or a twinge of grief. But anything more than that, even if I try, like I've literally tried to summon that feeling, because it freaks me out that I can't even feel grief properly. This is the only person that I've ever loved that has passed on. So I feel like I should feel the grief. And I know that I loved this person, again, as much as I'm able to love somebody, but then I just can't summon any feeling about it, and it makes me feel horrible about myself. It makes me feel incredibly guilty, but I know it's not because like that person wasn't important enough to me. It's just that it's like I'm defective or something. I just can't feel it. And most of the time, it's just kind of like internal. You wouldn't really be able to tell by my behavior that I was feeling that way that much. But sometimes, or with certain things, it kind of spreads to even my behavior, because, like, for instance, I have this really weird problem where I cannot cry. There are times when I'm able to cry, but it's very rare, and it has to be, like, I guess a certain situation, or sometimes it's random. So, like, every time I have a panic attack, I'll cry. Like, that works. But no matter how sad I am, if I'm just having, like, the worst period of depression ever, and I'm burning myself with cigarettes and cutting myself and absolutely just, like, breaking down mentally because I can't handle the despair, I cannot cry. I mean, I physically cannot do it. I will try. I'll literally try, because it's like, cathartic to cry. But I cannot. I am incapable of crying at certain times. Or at most times. Most of the time I am incapable of crying. I can come kind of close, but I cannot actually cry. And I wasn't always like this. This started in my early teens, my mid-teens. But before that, I used to be able to cry no problem. But around the time that my mental health just really got severely bad, and has been ever since, I've lost that ability, along with, like, all these other things. It hasn't been my whole life that I've been like this, I don't think. It's just, these are kind of new things that are developing and getting worse as time goes on and as I get older. So, like, I guess my mental health is worsening. And it might sound like maybe a good thing to not really be able to feel things, but it's really not, because it's only really with positive feelings. So imagine going through life feeling positive things only superficially, and the rest of the time you either feel nothing at all and just feel like you're not even really alive, or you feel the crushing weight of all the horrifying and torturous emotions that come with mental illness. And that's all you're able to feel. It's really horrible. And I'm actually, like, currently in a state of just feeling apathetic. So even though I'm talking about all these things and It's like it upsets some far, far, far away part of me, but the rest of me just can't summon any feeling as about the fact that this is what my life is like, and this is what I have to live with. So I just feel like flat about it, even though it really is torture. It's hard to summon a will to live when, even if you get the things that you want, or you get the things that you think will make your life better, you won't actually be able to enjoy it because you can't enjoy things, because there's just something in you that isn't capable of feeling that way. And it's kind of like, well, all I experience is this deadness or sorrow and despair and dread and fear and all of the things that come with being mentally ill. So it's kind of like, what's the point in going on? Really, there's no incentive. There's no reason to do it. I don't get anything out of it. So I kind of just have to kind of take what I can get, I guess, in terms of positive experiences and positive emotions, and just hang on tightly to what little pleasure or happiness or fulfillment I can experience. You know how like a lot of like edgy kids like back in 2010 and shit like that, and even some people now will say shit like, I don't think I've ever been happy. What does happiness feel like? You know how people like say that and you kind of always just roll your eyes. You're like, bitch, please. You're like 14 and deep. Go on Reddit. But I really feel that way. I don't know if that just makes me 14 and deep, or if maybe I legitimately have that problem. Like maybe it's a real problem. I'm not really sure, but I really don't understand it. I don't understand these feelings that I read about so much. I read a lot of like romances and all this stuff, and they go on and on about all these positive things, all these positive emotions. Oh, this person made their heart race, and they just couldn't wait to see them again. They couldn't stand to be apart from this person, and them telling you that they love you is like the happiest moment you've ever experienced, and you know, them describing joy and all this stuff, and I just cannot relate to it. I've never experienced that. I've never experienced something like that in my life, and I'm genuinely terrified that I never will, because there's something wrong with me. Like there's something fundamentally wrong with me. It really like keeps me up at night, because you know, I really am a romantic and things like that, but I just can't, and I'm genuinely afraid that, you know, the only time I'm ever going to be alive is this time. At least that's what I believe. And what if the one time I'm alive is the time where I have some type of deficiency, where I can't feel love, I can't fall in love, I can't really properly get attached to people, I can't feel joy when something really wonderful happens. It feels like nothing really matters at all. All of it is just unimportant, or just kind of not real. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that there's just a part of me that just doesn't feel like any of it is real. I feel like all of this is fake, and maybe I'm not even really sitting here in front of this camera, and this is all just in my mind, or a dream or something. And I feel like this kind of idea that everything that's happening isn't real has permeated my mind and dug its roots in so deep that maybe it's even affected my ability to respond to things and to, live life like it is life, and that this is reality. Even things like I mentioned, like showing emotional responses. A lot of it is contrived for me. I have gotten so good at controlling myself, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, that because of the way I was raised and the life that I lived my whole life, I have like intense self-control and intense self-awareness, to the point where everything I do, I make the conscious decision to do it, and I analyze everything I do before I do it, even down to facial expressions or gestures. I had to do that because I had to be in utter control of myself to make sure I never did anything wrong to upset the abusive people that I grew up with. So it's like a survival mechanism. But that has never gone away. I still do that. I make myself act how I think I should be acting in a situation. So, if someone says something really kind to me, and yeah, it makes me happy, I'm glad that they said it to me, but I just don't really feel much about it, I just feel flat about it, I'll make myself have the reaction of like, oh my god, like that I'm so touched, and I would be if I was just normal. But so it's gotten to the point where I've just done that for so long that I do it instinctively now, and now I can't tell what I'm doing anymore. I can't tell if I'm even really capable of showing a genuine expression anymore, because my face does show expressions, like when I'm upset and stuff, but every time that I'm upset and I show it on my face, I make the decision to show it on my face. I make my lip tremble, or I make my eyes water as best I can, and things like that. So then I wonder, is that really my expression, or is that just an expression that I'm making, if that makes sense? And I wonder if maybe if I didn't make the conscious decision to do that, if I didn't make the conscious decision to make emotional facial expressions, would I even be able to do it? Like if I had had a different upbringing and I didn't cultivate that skill through 20 years of having to survive that way, would I even be able to show expressions? Like, am I able to just do that in like reflexively, like naturally, without it being something that I consciously decide to do? Because I like psychology a lot and psychiatry, so I did a lot of research on like psychotic mental illnesses, and I was reading about schizophrenia one day. I was kind of delving deep into that because I was interested in it, and I read about all these things, and like apathy and a reduced ability to make expressions and things like that was there, and it was kind of like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, holy shit, like that is me. And a lot of other things did as well, and I'll talk about that more, but it's kind of like I didn't even realize that these things were like actual problems. The crying thing I had known because it really bothered me. Like no matter how hard I tried, I could not cry. But then there would be times where completely out of the blue, I suddenly could. And it's this really weird thing where like I can cry, my body will cry if I'm around other people when I'm upset. Weirdly enough. And I have no control over it. Like I can't stop myself from crying when I'm around other people and something upsetting happens most of the time. Most of the time I cry incredibly easily when I'm around other people when it comes to certain things. Other times, like again, I'm faced with the lack of ability to cry, but yeah, it's just kind of like it just all breaks out of me and I just start sobbing when I'm in front of other people when something upsetting happens or we're discussing something upsetting. And it's really annoying, actually. I really hate it because I don't like crying in front of other people. I really hate it a lot. But, like, this is one of the few things in terms of, like, my actions that I can't control. Because, like I said, I have, like, this extreme, like, obsessive self-control that I really hate. I don't like being that way. I wish I could just be normal and not analyze every single thing I do and say and think, because I have just this intense self-awareness that is honestly a curse, because it's kind of like I have all these mental problems, but because I have such intense self-awareness that I developed by needing it to survive, I'm aware of all the things that are happening. I'm not even granted the bliss of ignorance. So like when I hallucinate or I have a delusion or something, I'm not even granted the bliss of not knowing that I'm being irrational. But instead I know I am, but I can't even help myself from doing it. So I'm aware that I'm losing my touch with reality, but I can't do anything to stop it. Like, knowing that it's a delusion doesn't make me believe it less, if that makes sense, or things like that. So this, like, self-awareness is a curse. I really hate it. If I could change that about myself, I would. So yeah, I just feel like maybe I'm like a bad person. I genuinely worry that, because I'm really into true crime, and again, like I said, psychiatry. So I know that with, like, specifically psychopathic people, they experience kind of apathy and, like, lack of empathy, which to me kind of goes hand in hand with apathy, because if you can't really feel emotions in regards to your own life, how can you empathize with another person's emotions? Like, that kind of doesn't really make sense. That kind of just goes against it. But I know that those things are really prevalent in those types of, I believe that, like, psychopathy is a personality disorder. Or is it an antisocial... I forget exactly what type of disorder it is, but those types of things. So then I, like, legitimately worry that maybe that I'm like that. But I don't think so, because I can't not feel it at all, and I haven't always been this way my whole life. This is something that's kind of progressed and gotten worse as I've gotten older. But I like have those thoughts sometimes, those concerns. Maybe I'm a bad person. Because along with the apathy, like I mentioned, I have a very, 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 very hard time feeling empathy. Not so much with, like, physical things. I can empathize with physical pain so intensely that I will actually, like, feel the pain. Not exactly the pain, obviously, but my body will feel pain in response to seeing another person or another thing's pain. I can empathize a lot with animals, but I have a very difficult time empathizing with people, like specifically in regards to emotions, and specifically in regards to emotions that I haven't experienced. When people come to me and tell me about how maybe they're struggling with mental illness, and if it's not a mental illness that's like the same that I'm experiencing, I just don't feel much about it at all. I kind of feel this bitterness towards them, like, oh yeah, you're having such a hard time? Well, try living with a voice in your head constantly that tortures you, and I know that's a horribly toxic and just shitty mentality, but I can't control it. Like, I really can't help it, and I just don't really feel much at all in response to that. Like, whenever someone tells me that they're struggling, I don't want them to struggle, you know what I mean? It upsets me that they're struggling, so I can feel that, but I can't feel bad for what they're going through, if that makes sense. it upsets me that they are going through something, but I can't feel bad specifically about what they're going through. It just kind of makes me feel upset and worried when I know that they're having a hard time. But again, a lot of the times it's just this surface level feeling about it. I can't summon any deep feeling about it. It's like it doesn't penetrate deeply in me. And I just kind of, I'm like, oh, I'm worried about that. And then I just forget about it in like 2 seconds. And I don't know why I'm that way. I legitimately feel like a horrible person. I feel like I'm a bad person. But I'm not indifferent to their suffering or whatever. Like, I care and I want them to be better, and I kind of force myself to feel it as much as I can. I'm like, no, you are upset about this. You are worried about this person. No, this person is going through a legitimately hard time. You do not just, you have to feel something about this. And I like make myself do that, but it's not like coming naturally. It doesn't come naturally to me. It really eats me up, honestly. I really try to do it right and to be right, but I just can't do it. I don't know. It just really bothers me. I don't know. I hate to use like analogies like this because it's been so overused and it sounds so dramatic, and again, like the 14 and deep fucking Reddit. But I really feel like I'm dead inside. I know that sounds so stupid and it's so overused and shit like that, but I mean, I genuinely mean it. I feel like I'm not even alive. Or sometimes I feel like maybe I actually died a long time ago and this is all hell or some type of purgatory. And the purpose of those types of things is just to make you suffer. So in that case, it would kind of make sense that I could only feel not really anything much at all, or only intense pain, like emotional pain. So that really horrifies me. I find myself legitimately wondering about that a lot. That maybe this life that I think I'm living isn't actually what I believe it is. And then maybe that's why I just can't experience reality or anything the way that it should be experienced, the way that healthy people experience things, or even people that are unhealthy. Most people that are unhealthy, I feel, can experience things more properly than I can. And it's really hard for me. And I'm trying to, in these videos, I'm gonna try and make an effort to just act how I think I would naturally act if I wasn't so trained to adjust my actions and my personality and my behavior based on what I think it should be in that given situation. But a lot of the times when I do things like that, like make myself behave and act in a way that I think I need to be doing in a situation, a lot of the times, especially when it comes to like emotions, I do it because I'm trying to express something, but my face naturally wouldn't do it. So like, if I'm really upset about something, I feel like if I didn't force myself to do it, I would just be talking like this and just be completely deadpan about it, and not really have any sort of reaction at all. So then I make myself have an outward reaction so that people can see that I'm genuinely struggling with this. Even if I can't show it externally, I'm feeling all of these negative things inside. So please believe me, I'll show you via what I make my face do and what I make my hands and my body do, just so that you can understand what it's like for me and what I'm going through. But if I didn't do that, if I didn't make the choice to do those things, I just wouldn't react outwardly a lot of the times. But when it comes to things like panic, like when I'm having a panic attack, for instance, or like paranoia, I definitely do show a genuine emotional reaction. I mean, I literally, it's out of my control. It's like one of the few times where I cannot control my body and my reaction and things like that, because it's kind of just like instinct just takes over and I can't control it at all. Even like the most minute movements of my face, how I blink, which way I look, how much I move my eyes, if I rotate my eyes, if I, make my lip twitch just a little bit right there, or make my eye twitch just a little bit right there, or make my nostrils flutter a little bit, or things like that. Every part of that is a conscious decision that I make. Every movement that I make, every ounce of my demeanor is contrived by me in order not to be just deadpan all the time. It's really frustrating. And then when I don't want to show emotions, suddenly I can show emotion. Suddenly. It's the most frustrating thing. When I want to be able to communicate and show outwardly how I'm feeling, I cannot. So I have to fake it. But when, say for instance, I'm jealous or somebody hurt my feelings or something and I want to hide it from that person, depending on how strong the feeling is, I can't hide it properly. And I'm just like, what the fuck is that? Why can't things just work the way I want them to work, I mean, it's my body, it's my mind. Why can't I just have control over it? I mean, I say I have all this self-control and shit like that, but then with the things that I want to be able to control, I have no control at all. Why is that? I think that I'm a genuine person. I have a thing where I really hate lying. Really hate lying. It makes me feel sick when I do it. So I feel like I'm a genuine person, but constantly putting on a performance in order to be able to be a functioning human being and connect to people and be able to convey to people what's going on in my mind, it makes me feel like I'm just a complete fake, just a complete two-face. And I really hate feeling like that, because it's like I know that I'm not like that, but I can't help feeling that maybe I am, and feeling the guilt that comes with that. I wish I could just smile from the heart when someone tells me I am beautiful or something, or when they are there for me when I'm going through a hard time. I wish I could just do that and there not be any pretense or any barrier, but I just can't do it. I make a conscious decision to not misrepresent most of the time, unless I think that I need to in a situation, whatever it is. I try not to misrepresent my emotions and the extent of them. Sometimes I kind of have to, because it's like if someone gives you a lift home when your car broke down or something like that, and you show outwardly that you're thankful, and some really small, insignificant part of you is thankful, but you just are incapable of feeling that emotion, not because of anything that they did or because you're a bad person, but because it's like a disability. I say that lightly. That's just the only word I could think of. I know it's not as serious as an actual disability, like not being able to walk or something. But you can't just not react at all and just be like, yeah, thanks for the ride, and leave, because that would just be horrible. So you have to show outwardly that you're grateful and show it on your face and in your tone and stuff like that, because that's the right thing to do when someone does something for you or something like that. So in those cases, I feel like maybe I'm misrepresenting what I'm feeling, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm doing it in a malicious way. I mean, part of it is genuinely, obviously selfish, where I don't want people to think I'm a shitty person because I have this emotional deadness to me and nothing moves me. So that was just me, I guess, going on about my struggles, what I'm struggling with regards to apathy and emotional flatness and lack of ability to show emotion on my face if I'm not intentionally doing it. Thanks for watching. This is episode something or other of these video diaries that I've decided to make. Alright, bye.